Hey, I'm Michael Terrell, and I'm a transformation. And it might not mean too much to you right now, but hopefully by the time I'm done today, not only will you understand the power of transformation, but the possibility for yourself. Years ago, I was in the backyard of my house, and I noticed there was butterflies flying all over the neighborhood, and I wondered what it was that attracted them. So I went to a nursery, and I said, what do I have to do to attract butterflies? And they said, you have to plant the proper plants, which I did. And it wasn't long before monarch butterflies started coming into my backyard and laying eggs on the milkweed plants, and I started watching every day this drama that unfolded and realized how much it reminded me of the human life. How we all start in that same spot as a caterpillar, and we can't really do a whole lot. Everything in life is a big drama. Everything poses an incredible problem for us. And I watched this thing unfold day after day until the point where all this creature did, it appeared, was just eat and poop. It ate more and more of the milkweed plant. It became bigger and bigger, but its life was relatively boring without too many events. And one day I noticed that one of these caterpillars was hanging upside down in kind of a Zen state, kind of a little bit here, a little bit there type thing. Like there was a crossover that was taking place, but I couldn't pinpoint it. And within minutes, it was spinning this viscous green gelatinous stuff around itself, creating a cocoon. Later on, 7 days to be exact, I looked again, and that cocoon, that beautiful green cocoon, had suddenly turned translucent, and I could tell immediately that there had been a change, which, as you'll find out in your life, is an inevitability. You can fight it all you want to, but you're changing. You're changing every minute. Your skin cells are sloughing off while you're watching this video right now. You're changing. And this creature was changing. In fact, it had changed, but it was incapable of doing anything about the change, and I was incapable of helping it with its change. I had just to sit back and watch the whole story unfold. A few days later, I noticed that the cocoon turned completely black, and I thought that the creature was finished. I thought that this one wasn't going to make it. And now, over years of watching these creatures turn from caterpillars to butterflies, and even watching my own life do the same, I realize that when things get the very darkest, and when hope seems deferred, and when you really don't give yourself any hope, is usually moments, if not hours, before a transformation, something wonderful that is about to happen. It's my desire today that this time that I'm taking to speak to you is the beginning of a process that is going to lead you to the same inevitability, which is complete transformation that I saw not only in my life, but in the life of these gauzy winged creatures that we call butterflies. So you're wondering what happened. I'm happy to tell you that within days there was an emergence. There was a creature that came out of this cocoon that was nothing like the caterpillar that had entered in. The first thing that I noticed is, unlike the caterpillar that had trouble moving even a few inches in a moment, this incredible creature could fly. But there was much more than that, much more than most of us even take the time to observe, that this creature had none of the facilities of the original caterpillar. I mean, this caterpillar had 6 sets of eyes, but he couldn't see anything, and I would spend most of my time scooping them off when they were trying to commit suicide in the swimming pool and putting them back into the garden where they could eat again. The second thing I realized really quick was that this defenseless creature had defenses now. Something else I realized too is that he had a whole lot more to his life than just eating and pooping and laying around and not amounting to anything. What I'm saying is that this helpless creature, this creature of drama and struggle and crawling, suddenly becomes this majestic creature that can fly at will. And all of the facilities within this creature have changed. It's none of the old capabilities, none of the old problems, just a completely transformed creature. First thing I noticed with the butterfly is, which is rather obvious, it only has 2 eyes now, but both of them see. And not only does it see the way that we see, but it sees in a whole other realm of color and radiation and things that we're not even accustomed to seeing, even if we had the capabilities of seeing. They have diachromatic lenses. They see everything that we see. They see heat and colors and things we can barely imagine. The second thing is that the color changed. Now this creature had come into its true colors, which is orange, which in the animal kingdom translates into very dangerous, like the Bengal tiger. Nobody messes with a Bengal tiger because they're orange, and it means you're in great danger if you come near me. And now I know you're laughing and you're saying, yeah, a butterfly, what a great danger. But that's when we have to look a little deeper into the lens. And that's when we have to remember what it was that the caterpillar was eating, which is called milkweed, which in the veins of a monarch butterfly make that a lethal, toxic cocktail to any of its adversaries, meaning that the very thing that brings life to it through the sap of this plant is turning his blood chemistry into a deadly toxin against any of his enemies. So his defense system, it's impenetrable. They won't even try to attack him because they know what's in his blood. And then you look a little bit further and you go, man, that's fantastic. And then you see the wings and you go, oh, wow. But the first thing that blew me away was the moment that you see this creature trying to free itself from its cocoon, there's this hideous struggle. Maybe you're in the middle of that struggle right now, but everything's shaking. The cocoon's shaking. His whole world is shaking as far as he knows it. And then there's this incredible fight to free himself. But the cocoon doesn't give up easy. The cocoon wants to fight. There's a dynamic tension. It wants to keep and truncate and conceal, and the new creature wants freedom and wants to get out. And so the creature is fighting with everything he has, and the cocoon is fighting with everything it has. And suddenly, the new creature wins, and you see the first legs poking out of his former prison, and he's pushing against it. And at first you want to help him, but you can't, because you destroy the creature, because that tension is causing the pressure that causes this incredible enzyme to begin to pump and move blood into the wings of the butterfly. And then once he frees himself from his former prison, he steps up on top of it and his wings are open, and he moves around until he sees the sun. And once he gazes on the sun, the heat from the sun hits his abdomen, and it causes his enzyme pump to put this incredible stuff that makes the wings harden onto his wings and to prepare him for flight. But you see, every little thing is important. Just like in your life, every little thing is important. The things that you don't like, the things that you love, the things you're not sure about, the things that you know. Every one of those little things that happens to you is by design. It's not like a mistake. You're not some kind of giant question mark in the galaxy. Everything about you has a divine nature. It has a template, a schematic, a plan. But it's not until our eyes are open that we can really see what all of this was about. And as I watch this creature, I'm amazed in that when it's free from its prison, it does what it wants to do. It does what it always wanted to do. It does what it watched the others do on the ground. It watched flight, and now it's taking part in that exercise itself. Yep. Those wings, man, will take that creature anywhere that he wants to go. And if he wants to touch down on the ground, he can. But he has wings now. He can stay airborne for the rest of his life if that's his desire. So in watching this, I can only say, as I unpack this story with you, maybe you'll see your life in a different light. Maybe you'll find yourself as the crawling creature today. Maybe you'll find yourself as someone that's frustrated with the tedium of life, and you're sick of just barely getting by, and you're tired of the struggle and the drama that surrounds your life every day, and you're tired of just doing the 9 to 5, eating and pooping and going to sleep and then doing it again. And maybe you're tired of feeling defenseless. Maybe you're tired of feeling weak or being controlled by something other than yourself. Who knows what it is? Or maybe you're in that place where you're in your proving ground. You're in your own personal prison where you're learning deep truths about yourself, and you're learning that life is probably a lot bigger outside of the cocoon than you have any idea. But you're starting to find out why you think the way that you think, and why you do the things that you do, and how you feel about the things that you think and do, and why you feel that way about them. And then finally, hopefully, some of you today, if you're not already in that place of freedom, you're moving into it rapidly. As I speak to you even now, you're realizing that there's a whole lot more than meets the eye. See, I was the caterpillar. I was the one that was hopelessly addicted to drugs. And not because I thought it was a good idea, but because I wanted to find something that could numb my pain. The pain of feeling alone, the pain of not knowing my father, the pain that, I mean, everybody has a pebble in their shoe. I mean, everybody walks with a limp. We all have a problem. This isn't about my problem, it was about my cure. See, you can find something wrong with your life, maybe a few things. Mine is that I needed to be affirmed by someone older and wiser than me, and somebody that gave me the blood that was in my veins, my father. And when that didn't happen, I started looking for affirmation in other places. And some people find it in a gang, some people find it, who knows? I found it by self-administering drugs to numb my senses so I wouldn't feel the pain, whatever it took. I could take as much as I could take, and then I had to find something that would numb that pain so it wouldn't hurt so bad. And it moves you into a whole nother strata. It puts you around people that are also hurting, people that are also caterpillars, people that are also dealing with all of their own demons and struggling and finding it difficult to navigate through life. And you commiserate with each other. You become a caterpillar club. You get used to misery-loving company, and you're the company that it keeps. And then a day comes and you realize there's got to be more than this. Hopefully you get there. Hopefully you'll get there now. Something intervenes in your life. It's almost like this human chessboard's taking place. The dark side wants you. The white king wants you. And you're the pawn moving in and out of these crazy gyrations and gymnastics, trying to find out which team you really belong. That was my struggle, of trying to find out where I belong, where I fit in. What's my purpose? What a question. And I went through all kinds of life, and someday, like I said, right now, Michael Terrell, that name means nothing to you. Hopefully by the end of this video, it'll mean a lot, and hopefully it'll be a key to your freedom. But for me, I just got tired of the whole thing. I mean, there was a point where I had done everything I could do to make my name great on the earth, played in bands, did all the stuff, you know, all the things that guys really wanted. I already had it. It wasn't really that hard to get, and I was miserable, completely unhappy. Drugs made me feel at least temporarily 7 feet tall. I remember nights, even being in Atlanta, Georgia, when in the middle of the night, man, it's loony as you get, you know, back in the Bon Jovi days with gigantic hair and really tight pants, walking down stoned out of my mind to the bus station in Atlanta and thinking that I was untouchable, that nobody could have even hurt me. I was like Superman, you know, my spandex pants could have kept me free from, you know, gun blasts and the blade of a knife or any assailant. You know, I was like above everything. But as soon as that drug would wear off, then I went right back to my caterpillar state again, to where I remembered how tough it was and how hard it was and how unimportant I really was in the scheme of things. Then I remember one day being introduced to a lot harder drugs through a hairdresser in Atlanta. And I remember my very first time when I used crack and what I felt, and how I heard music under the influence. And being a musician, I mean, I loved music more than anything, but now music was intensified tenfold. Now every concert and everything I went to under the influence, I thought, oh my, you know, this sounds amazing. It was like surround sound before surround sound. And then after a while it would wear off, and then the same misery would ensue. And so years later, I came in contact with some people that elevated my business to a much higher realm, if you will, and I was able to make quite a bit of money doing things that I'm not happy about today. I would have been still ashamed had I not had the transformation, but selling drugs and making money because other people were caterpillars and they needed food. They needed their food too. They needed that, whatever that was, that would sustain them in their misery just long enough to run out of it to call me to buy some more. And this sardonic lifestyle that I basically lived around as a vulture, waiting for someone to call me in the midst of their experience of death. And long story short, after putting all of my money into a very large buy of cocaine, there's a lot, again, I'm paraphrasing this story for the sake of time, because I want you to get to the payoff like I did as quickly as possible. Everything went wrong, and dogs found the package. I lost all of my money, and I went to the mailbox hoping that there would be a check in there, and instead I found a letter from a woman, not just any woman. I found a letter from my mother. And what she said in less than 100 words was the beginning of a transformation that far exceeded my wildest imagination. Because she told me that God had spoken to her from the womb about the child that she was carrying. And she said, even though I know that you would have had 3 chances by now, which was true. I had 3 chances to be arrested, including that last one where I lost everything that I had. But every time there was an unseen protection, some kind of covering over my life that kept me from going that direction and being incarcerated and going to jail. There was something that was bigger than me, but I didn't understand what it was. But she made it really clear. She said, by the time you get this, you'll have 3 chances. There won't be a 4th. Come home. And I did. I did come home. That was just the beginning of the story. But I packed everything in and I went down to my mother's house. And when it really got interesting was after I had pretty much given up on myself as even knowing who to trust or how to run my life, and I'd made a complete disaster out of all of it. My mother had to leave to go on a trip for 3 days. And I was in her house by myself. And I'll never forget the Friday night that I was sitting in this overstuffed chair in my mother's living room all alone. Everybody that I know by this time had pretty much left me, and I was left by myself, which I've learned to realize is not such a bad thing. Because when you finally are past codependency and you don't have to have a stereo or a TV on in every room and people talking to you all the time not to feel alone, that's the beginning of the freedom that I'm talking about. But I couldn't handle it, so I got in the car and I went down to a local liquor store, and it was nickel night, and I drank as many beers as I could. I drank so many beers I got a sore throat. And I remember getting in that ugly Ford Pinto and driving home and not feeling anything and cursing God at the top of my lungs out the window and saying, you don't even care. You don't care about me. If you really cared about me, I'd be drunk and I wouldn't be feeling what I'm feeling, not knowing that I didn't even understand the depths of the word care or compassion or concern. By the time I reached home, I was completely straight. I didn't feel like I had drank 1 beer. Well, I know at least 20, 25 8-ounce glasses I drank. I didn't feel anything. And I sat back in that chair until about midnight, and I said, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. And I took everything that I had that was in my pocket, and then I went into my mother's medicine cabinet and took everything that was in the medicine cabinet, down to aspirins, Librium, anything that was Lasix, anything that I could find, anything that was around. I just swallowed all of it. And I remember sitting on her bed thinking about my mom's going to come home and find her son dead in her bed. And I didn't even care. And finally, in this half-hearted, completely broken state, I just yelled out to God. I said, if you really are who you say you are, then you can do something about this. But otherwise, it's not going to make any difference anyway. And I passed out. Next thing I remember was about 7 a.m., less than 7 hours from the time I went down, starting to come to and looking around and feeling so good that I thought that I died and went to heaven, which I also couldn't validate in my head of why anybody would want me. Then I looked around in the room, and all of a sudden I saw this ugly rattan chair, and I went, I'm still here. Are you serious? 400 pills, and I'm still here? And, but I felt amazing. I felt supernatural. And I got up, and like everyone else did, I had to use the restroom, got up and went to use the restroom, and I passed the mirror, and I looked in my eyes, and they were completely white. They were white as snow. And I just hit the deck right there in my mom's bathroom, curled up on the floor. And I said, you are real. And I said, and I want you to possess me because I can't do this anymore. I've destroyed my life, and you're the only one that can save it. And he did. And he did it all by himself. He didn't need any help from anyone. But that was just the beginning. That was just the vestibule. That was just the open door to a journey that I'm living with so much peace and joy today that I want to share with you, because there's so much to it. You see, God has the ability, and only God does, to save you from the inside out. He's the only one that can do this. There's all kinds of things. We're going to talk about it in a minute. There's all kinds of things that you can do for yourself, from exercise to supplements and things that you can do to help your body grow strong. But when it comes down to the difference between heaven and hell and the salvation of a human soul, there's only one that can do that, and his name is Jesus. And he is the one that found me. It wasn't the secret. that I found. It was the secret that found me. Shortly afterwards, when my mother came home, that was the first thing that blew her away, because maybe your parents are in the same place where they know already the secret. They know who Jesus is. And they're praying for you, and it frustrates you. It makes you mad because you think it's absurd. You think it's insane. So did I. I threw away most of those letters. I'm just glad I didn't throw the last one away. But I will tell you this, that what your parents are doing, if you don't know the Lord, is they're praying for you every moment of your life. When you're sleeping, when you're dreaming, when you're walking, when you're working, when you're crying, they're praying for you. They're praying that they'll see what my mother saw when she opened the door the third day when she came back from her business trip. They're praying that they're going to see a total transformation. They're praying that they're going to see their caterpillar turn into a butterfly while they're alive on the earth. They're praying that wonderful things will happen to your life and that you'll actually be happy and free for the first time in your life. That shocked my mother when she opened the door that day, and we laugh about it now, but she said, when I opened the door, there was so much light around you that I stepped backwards for a moment, and she said, my first words were, "You've been with the Most High God." She knew it. And let that be lesson number one today. You don't have to tell anyone you're a Christian. When you are, everybody will know it. They'll know it. You don't have to advertise it. You don't have to wear a WWJD bracelet or put a shirt with his face on it to prove something. Your love and your life will show everyone. The fruit of your life will be beautiful and ripe and good for the picking and better for the eating. So my mother was completely blown away by this new creature, this butterfly that was standing in the living room of her house that just 2 days before was a caterpillar. But like I said, that was the beginning. The first thing she did was to find the family Bible I was given when I was a child and give it back to me, because now I had a hunger to read it. The second thing that she did was she helped me take off the black fingernail polish and the weird eyeliner and all the other stuff that I wore, because I loved the darkness more than I loved the light. And then the third thing she did is she encouraged me to establish a personal relationship with Jesus. Not only now that I had him, but to talk to him, just like I'm talking to you, and spend time with him, just like I'm spending time with you, and to be honest with him, just like I'm being honest with you. And that led me to an unbelievable journey. The first thing that happened is I moved away from everyone, not because I didn't want to be with my mother, but I didn't want anyone to live my life. I wanted to live my life with the Lord alone. I wanted to, this codependent, drug addict, rock and roll, I wanted to be away from that. Everyone I know, I lived in a little place. I worked with my hands in the day, came home and spent every night until I couldn't even stay awake anymore with the Lord. And then I would put my headset on and I'd listen to Oral Roberts reads the New Testament, because I just wanted to know this guy. I wasn't reading the Bible because I thought I'd get extra points at the end. I was reading the Bible because I met a stranger that loved me and I wanted to know about his life. And in the midst of this journey, I realized that I was being led into places and divinely directed into places that I could have never gotten on my own. First of all, I ran into naturopaths, and I ran into herbalists, and I ran into people that knew a lot about the body, not even thinking consciously that I needed to rebuild. To digress, what you do as a drug addict, or what you do as a codependent, or as an anorexic bulimic, I mean, it doesn't have to be drug dependent. You might just be afraid of food because you're afraid to get fat or whatever. Suddenly I realized that over the years of my drug addiction, that I had so depleted my body of everything that it naturally needed that I was a walking graveyard. There was one year when I was using crack exclusively that all I ate when I ate was Nabisco. A friend of mine ran a truck for Nabisco, and he just dropped boxes off of cookies and crackers and junk. And that was my lifeblood. That's what kept me alive, was like chocolate cookies and vanilla wafers and fly food, sugar. And that really took its toll in many, many ways, which we'll go into in the future. I'll tell you where to go to find out more information. But needless to say that physically, you know, all of us were a triangle. And when we realized that each wall is load-bearing, like we're body, soul, and spirit, and they all have to be balanced. And if your body isn't balanced, the other walls will collapse on themselves. You won't be able to carry this divine thing that you've been given because your body can't handle it. And that's where I was. My spirit had been brought to life. I was a new guy and I was ready to run, but my body said, we got work to do. It's kind of like Neo in the Matrix. Before he did anything, man, they had to hook him up and they had to put all of these acupuncture needles in, because he had new eyes, and I did too. And my body had to catch up with what had been done in my spirit. So I got into contact with all these different people, and they were just pouring information into me about how to rebuild the body, how to balance the body, talking about disgusting things that reminded me of my caterpillar days, like eating and pooping, about getting rid of waste in your body, about cleansing, about the power and the necessity of sleep and how your body restores itself during the 8 hours in circadian rhythm, and how important it was that I got on a normal sleep cycle, because when you're a drug addict like me, you don't sleep anymore. And then you have to take other drugs to help you to sleep, but the sleep isn't like natural sleep. It's drug-induced sleep, so it's kind of a double entendre. I'm sleeping because I took more drugs to make me sleep, to help me sleep from the ones that make me stay awake. And then finally, my immune system. I noticed that I was always getting sick. I mean, it didn't matter. I had a cold, like every month it seemed like I'd catch a cold. And I realized that I had depleted my immune system, my natural immune system that our Father gave us for free, wasn't functioning properly. So I didn't have the ability to fight off sickness or virus. Whenever flu came to town, I'd be one of the first guys to get that. And so over the next couple of years, I found myself in 3 different states, surrounded by the best of the best scientists, the greatest minds in herbology, just outrageous people that had come up with giant inroads in how to restore the body. And little by little, they would give me certain combinations of things that became my supplements. And before I knew it, I mean, I was sleeping 8 hours a day without any drugs. I was, you know, everything was back to normal again, if you know what I mean. I was having 3-4 bowel movements a day and feeling great, and I never got sick anymore. Recently, I started thinking about what I'd been given as a gift. Those people didn't come looking for me because I was famous. Those scientists didn't give me the time, the ideas, and they did it because it was part of the journey of freedom. Not only being free spiritually, but free in my soul. What is my soul? Same as yours. It's the epicenter of your thought, your will, and your emotions. It's what makes you tick. It's your personality. And it's funny how they say you can't change your personality, but you do it every day. When you're around the wrong people, you do what they do. When you're around the right people, you do what they do. You think different, you act different, you emote different about what you're thinking and acting. And so I knew that that had to be reprioritized properly, because it was the controller between whether I spent my time more in the spirit or whether I spent the time more obsessing about what was wrong with this. So I found simpatico, I found balance, I found neutral. And I started getting on a regime where I started eating things that I knew were healthy without going overboard. A lot of people go overboard. They try to overcorrect the ship when it's heading for an iceberg. They overcorrect. What you do is everything should be peaceful. There was absolutely this much stress. It took God this much stress to save me. He didn't sweat one drop saving me. You shouldn't sweat one drop restoring your body, not one. Unless, of course, you're in a sauna. You should not. You should find what works for you. And then slowly, methodically, you come up with a plan every day of how you eat and what you take to help restore your body. I'm in the process right now of taking the guesswork out of that for you. Not just for my friends that are watching today that are addicted to narcotics or even prescriptions, you know, doctor prescriptions, pharmaceutical drugs that you think they're good because the doctor gave them to you, but you can't live without them. Or maybe you're a bulimic, an anorexic. Maybe you have an autoimmune disease. Maybe you have urticaria. I don't know what your problem is today, but no matter what, there's 3 things that will change it quickly. Sleeping enough, going to the bathroom enough, and restoring your immune system. The rest of that stuff you'll get from food, exercise. We'll go into that later on in future videos from here. But my point is, I'm in the process right now of creating 3 formulas in one called the Transformation Formulation. Be 3 different supplements in one box, and I'm going to make it available to you. Will it help me? Anyone that sells anything that says they're not going to make something out of it's lying to you. Of course it will. But you know what's really going to help me? First of all, if you find freedom, if your spirit gets set free because of one thing I say, if you meet Jesus the way I did, that's the pay. If your body is as healthy as mine, you'll be surprised when you find out how old I am, but I'm not telling you today because I want you to watch the next video. You'll be shocked. You really will. But I'm telling you right now, if you ingest the information that I'm going to give you in the next few videos, if you'll take the time to watch this video over and over again and find the truth in it, if you'll finally get to the place where you swallow your pride long enough to realize that you're not God, you're not even close, and in fact you make a terrible manager of your life, and that somebody took the time to tell you that the Lord will save you, that God can save you, and then He'll give you a brilliant idea and He'll tell you exactly what you can do to work with yourself. Isn't it interesting? The Bible says we work out our own salvation with fear and trembling. What a revelation. It's a stumper for most people. They go, well, I thought Jesus died on the cross. He did. He died on the cross to do for you what He did for me, to save your spirit, to save you. But then He says, but we work out our own salvation with fear and trembling. What does that mean? It means the part that you get to do here on earth. Reprioritize the way you think, the way you feel, the way you emote, and finally, what you do to this body where He lives, how you take care of it, what you put in it. You got to remember that if you want to take all of this stuff, all these blessings, these gifts, these amazing things that make you who you are, if you want to take them anywhere, the vehicle's going to have to be sound. It's going to have to be able to hold up. It's going to have to stay well. I can give you the tools to do this. The transformation formulation will do just that. It will transform your life. God does the heavy lifting. I can't save you. He'll have to do that. But the rest, I'm going to make it available to you. And if you want to find more in the next few months, you can go to www.michaelterrell.com. That's www.michaelterrell.com. If you do, you'll find out a little bit more about me, a lot more about God, and a heck of a lot more about supplements and health. I will be constantly updating this, and when it's ready, when my transformation formulation has been transformed and is ready for you, I will give you all of the details of where you can get it and the appropriate cost. But until then, I just want to thank you for taking your time today to listen to a transformation. And my prayer today is that by the time you're finished with this, that you will be in the same process as I am, as free as I am, as healthy as I am, and certainly as happy I am. So until the next time, God bless you.